Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm Nicole Petalides. We're live on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. The Dow's down 197 points right now. Shana Sissel's with us, founder, president of Banrian Capital Management. Great to see you, Shana. I haven't seen you in a long time. How you feeling?
I know. I feel like I'm always on with Diane. Sorry, I was just saying I feel like I'm always on with Diane now.
I know. So tell me about 2025. I had a guest on today who said it was this week, who said 2020 thrive.
Well, in terms of 2025, I think for me, I'm a little more constructive on markets. We've had multiple years of 20 plus returns in the S&P 500, and that's not normal. With the current administration, I think that's very positive for stocks. But it wouldn't surprise me if we did see less impressive returns from the market as a whole. But there will absolutely be opportunities, I think, in places we haven't been looking for stocks to outperform. Healthcare is a great example of that as a sector. It tends to outperform in an all GOP-led government, which is what we're in, and it's been a really poor performer for years now. So that's a sector I'd keep an eye on. And then there's other opportunities, and I know we're going to talk about in the AI space and others that I think could be quite interesting here.
Yeah, I mean, do you think some of the policies will help to drive growth? I know you're a little wary. A lot of people are worried about the current valuations in the market. We saw the S&P 500 hit a record again this morning. You've had more than 20% returns for 2 years in a row. So there are some concerns about valuation. But do you think some of the policies could help to boost growth and maybe earnings of some of these companies?
Yeah, yes. I mean, obviously, earnings expansion is always what you want to see if valuations seem frothy, because that would suggest that the earnings are coming in to support the valuation. So the current administration's policies are generally positive in that sense. There's a lot of concern about potentials for tariffs and how that will affect a number of different industries. There's a number of concerns about some comments that were made at Davos yesterday by the president related to energy and oil and banking. So there's definitely things that I would say we should keep an eye on. But overall, this is a pro-market administration. It's a pro-market government. It should be good for stocks. Valuation should be supported by stronger earnings as a result. Fed policy is going to come into play here, and you just can never really get too comfortable when we have such outsized gains in the market for so long, because that's not sustainable. So just because it's expensive, and I'm not even suggesting stocks won't do well, but maybe we should temper our expectations a bit and maybe 10%, 12% for the year instead of 25 to 30. I think that kind of brings in much more realistic expectations of what we can expect in 2025.
All right, let's go over some of the names that you brought to us. Some of them are names that you've been following for a long time, and kudos to you, because I mean, when I look at Marvell, that's up 76% in 1 year. Vertiv is up 172%. I just pulled up Leidos. I'm looking at that at $145. Also went up about 32%. So Leidos, Marvell, and Vertiv, tell me about why these names are in a portfolio for 2025, in your opinion.
So I'll start with Leidos, since it's kind of the outlier of the group. It's a government contractor, defense, healthcare, commercial airlines, cybersecurity, things of that nature. Smaller player in the space. It doesn't get as much of the headlines as some of its larger peers, but it's really well run, has a really solid balance sheet, good leadership, and it just kind of keeps trucking along. I don't know that most people think of Leidos as a household name, but it should be. If you fly, you go through their machines every time you go through the TSA checks. So it's a very interesting company. I think the number one concern that investors may have with the company, it has to do with Elon Musk and the Doge team and how that will affect defense spending. But Leidos has an interesting niche in that a lot of the services they provide are much more critical outside of just general defense. And so I think that it is actually going to do quite well, even in an environment where there's increased scrutiny on defense spending. But the stock has come back a little bit as a result of those concerns. And then if you talk about the other two stocks, those are both a play on AI.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about NVIDIA and ARM and some of the bigger players. Broadcom's come up a lot lately. These are players that you don't hear about as much, but are equally as exposed to AI. Marvell in particular gets a bad rep. The stock's done really well, and I was looking at some of the street research and expectations for the stock. It's really mixed. There's either people who love the stock or really hate the stock. The company has, a bit of leverage on their balance sheet. But overall, it is taking advantage of trends in the industry, particularly as it pertains to 5G and custom silicon for AI, that should do really well. And if you look at its data center business, it's just done remarkably well, really performed at a high level. So it's a stock that I really like because not a lot of people pay attention to it, but it is an AI play. And then Vertiv is another AI play that you don't hear about, but it's critical data center infrastructure that is absolutely critical as we grow and build our AI capabilities, because you need these cooling systems that they provide to maintain the computer systems to be able to do the machine learning that takes up so much computing power. So it's critical infrastructure, and it's really, as AI goes, so does this stock. It is the leading player in the space, and so it's one that I really like, and that I think people should be taking a look at.
Yeah, and last but not least, I mean, we had the Stargate announcement. Some people were calling it the Stargate rally. There's a lot of excitement, but there's a lot of funding that has to happen, and the structure of it, etc. Did you like what you heard so far when it came to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very encouraged by that, but there's things that, to your point, need to be considered. One of the biggest ones is our ability to provide the critical infrastructure to take on these tasks, and that means we need to strengthen and improve our grid, our electrical capacity, as well as these things like growing and building these data centers and critical infrastructure to support more powerful computing needs. So these are things to consider that I think people get really excited about. But in order to achieve those goals, there's really critical infrastructure needs we need to take on. And I'm not sure that people are thinking about that. But for me, that's why I'm looking at names like Vertiv, because it's going to be the most important part to being able to achieve the goals.
All right. Shana Sissel, great to see you of Banrian Capital Management. Thank you so much.